International Women's Day, March 8th, 2023. A global day celebrating the historical, cultural, and political achievements of women. Today, organizations large and small come together to show women just how valuable they are in today's society. This year's focus is gender equity. So, as a result, the day is observed in support of taking action against gender inequality around the world. Though we're celebrating the achievement of women and how far they have come in the fight for their rights within the political, cultural, and social spheres, we still have a lot more to do. Two of the biggest issues facing women are unequal pay and their reproductive rights. Today, women are being paid less than men, even when doing the same job. And not forget, the U.S. Supreme Court recently overturned Roe versus Wade. Here, the Duchess of Sussex, a longtime advocate of women's rights, speaks during a panel discussion on a previous Women's International Day.
At the age of 11, I had seen a commercial at the time that I found to be very sexist. And, truth be told, at 11, I don't even think I really knew what sexism meant. I just knew that something struck me internally. No one was telling me that it was wrong, but I knew that it was wrong. And I think sort of using that as my moral compass and moving through from the age of 11, being able to see that at that age, I was able to actually change this commercial before social media, before being able to have a larger reach, just putting pen to paper, it really set up the trajectory for me to say, if things are wrong and there is a lack of justice and there's an inequality, then someone needs to say something. And why not me? So I think, if I look at that from that young age and then sort of follow what I did in the years after that, it was always about learning more, not just from where I was, but where else in the world similar things were happening, a different version of the same thing, so to speak. And once I became old enough to travel, specifically to developing countries, and see what was happening abroad, I think for me what really resonated was the lack of education for girls and how that has a ripple effect on so many things. And I think, it seems like a broad stroke, and many people will say, okay, fine, yes, you want girls to have an education, you just want to have smart girls. It's actually much more complex than that, and it really does solve so many of the world's problems when a girl has access to education. You look at it and you could say, here are the vulnerabilities and the challenges that come about when they don't have access to education, right? Early childhood marriage, susceptibility to trafficking, modern slavery, all of that. But equally, look at all of the positives that come out of it when you do have access to education for young girls, how it affects economic development, the GDP, billions of dollars on the table are lost by girls being pulled out of education. And so I think when I look at it from those terms, it would be impossible for me to sit back and not do something about it. And I think, looking at my role that I'm very, very privileged to have now with the QCT, just expands that platform to be able to go to 53 Commonwealth countries and do this level of work all across the globe, because again, it is about global feminism. It is about a parity and equality for all of us. And so, yeah, it started at 11, but it still feels like it's just the beginning. So it's very exciting.
Here's a little history of International Women's Day. 1869, the National Women's Suffrage Association was founded by Susan B. Anthony and Elizabeth Cady Stanton to advocate for women's rights. In 1911, A Day for Women, Clara Zetkin proposes a Women's Day celebration, and International Women's Day is celebrated annually from this point forth. 1965, all women can vote. The women's liberation movement fights for politics, work, the family, and sexuality, and all women are given the right to vote. 2000s, New Age feminism. With the age of the internet rising, the message of feminism becomes unified with a focused direction.